A problem that I've recognized in the world of drones is that it's very hard to know where to get started. So my goal was to try to make a easy to learn program that you could then edit if you wanted to, and you could hook up a PlayStation or Xbox controller to your computer, run this piece of software, and then you could control a drone with video via a PlayStation or Xbox controller. My first idea for coding a drone is to use this thing called a Pixhawk. And while the Pixhawk is a great product for trying to code autopilots, I was not trying to code an autopilot, so it did not work for my application. My next idea was to use an FPV racing drone, but unfortunately, these require a certain protocol sent by the controller that I could not mimic, so unfortunately, I could not use this idea either. My next idea was to use a mini drone that you could buy off Amazon and then try to send a signal to that drone via a computer, but unfortunately this idea did not work either. My next idea was to use a Wi-Fi transceiver and then try to get it to mimic the protocols sent to the mini Wi-Fi drone from Amazon, but unfortunately I could not mimic the protocol, so I was not able to use this either. My next idea was that I might need a Arduino coupled with the transceiver in order to get a signal out, but unfortunately, even using an Arduino, I could not mimic the protocols used by the mini Amazon drone in order to connect to it. My last and final idea was to use a product called the DJI Tello, which was a pre-made drone that you could connect a phone or a computer to in the first place, and then you could use a product called DroneBlocks to then create mini snippets of code that you can then send to the drone and it would follow those codes. But at the same time, you cannot upload live codes, so that's what I had to try to figure out in order to get this project to work. All right, so the plan was simple. We get a drone, and we get a computer, we write some code, we plug in our controller, bang, boom, bop, we got a drone, flown by a controller, project over, right? After figuring out what I was going to use to complete my project, I now needed to learn how to code this drone in order to get my code sent to it, and then be able to fly it with a PlayStation controller. After scouring the web for a literal day, I've stumbled across a website called Telepilots. After spending about another day on this website, I figured out how to code the drones and what I would need to download in order to code the drones. Now, instead of boring you and letting you watch me just code some random pieces of information, I thought I'd put it into a little montage, so here you go. Alright, while that did not really happen, I did get a lot of errors, and these errors are what took me the most time to figure out. I mostly had errors within the libraries not being the right versions, and just errors in the code in general. These errors, most of the time when I would fix them, would result in even more errors, but finally, after 2 weeks of working on it, I finally got all the troubleshooting done, and it was finally time to fly the drone. Thanks for watching, and I've left the code in the description of the video below for anyone that wants to try to fly their own Tello. I do not have code for the controller, however, because I had to use a separate program to interpret the inputs for the controller.